Coming up on today's show, we have the latest on Dalvin Cook as a Bronco insider. Kind of tipped Denver's hand a little bit when it comes to their interest on the former Vikings running back. And then we're going to talk about just a kind of a State of the Union speech for Broncos country after the Avs won, the Nuggets won. Who's next at Mile High? Is it Denver or is it the Broncos? We're going to discuss that. And then we'll wrap up the show with talking about James Robinson after he was released by the Patriots. Would it make some sense for Denver to bring in a former 1,000-yard rusher with Javonte Williams currently in limbo? But first things first, we have some notes and nuggets. Speaking of nuggets, no pun intended, coming out of minicamp right now. We'll do a full minicamp breakdown on our next episode here. But Mike Klis tweeted out, per Broncos roster, veteran tryout players this week include running back Benny Snell. He was with the Steelers for a while, was really good at Kentucky if you remember him. Fat Randy Bullock to compete with Elliott Fry. And then running back Ryan Nall, he was with the Bears for quite some time. Went to Oregon State if my college football memory is correct. So 3 notable-ish veteran players coming in for a tryout during minicamp. But let's get things started by talking about Dalvin Cook because he was released by the Minnesota Vikings not too long ago now, but it was a move that saved $9-ish million for Minneapolis, and the Broncos have had a lot of rumored interest in Dalvin Cook. The obvious connection is George Paton, who was in Minnesota as the assistant GM from 2015 to 2020, and Dalvin Cook, that was a 2017 draft pick during George Paton's reign as the assistant. So some people are connecting the dots at their kids menu from Pancake House. Now, Mike Klis recently wrote about Dalvin Cook in an article of his, and I wanted to share this little bit with you guys. Yet, the Broncos do not appear to be in on newly set free agent running back Dalvin Cook, who is coming off 4 consecutive 1,100-yard rushing seasons for the Minnesota Vikings. This tells me that the Broncos believe Javonte Williams is coming back sooner rather than later, and they're not looking to overpay Dalvin Cook, right? If they were really afraid that Javonte Williams was going to miss half of the season roughly, they'd probably have some more interest in Dalvin Cook. Now, we're going to find out over the course of minicamp and whatnot and get some status updates on Javonte Williams, how close or likely he is to play in week 1. But if it's not week 1, it could easily be week 2 or week 3, and they can roll with Samaje Perine until that point. I also think Denver has no interest in overpaying for Dalvin Cook. Now, what do I mean by that? Barry Jackson, who is a South Florida beat reporter, covers sports down there, tweeted out, Tom Pelissero reiterates what we've been reporting past several days. Dalvin Cook wants significant contract and is not taking $5 million. He's not jumping on anything in that range, willing to wait a while. That's why mutual interest with the Dolphins, Cook isn't enough. As I've reported, wants something far, far closer to $10.4 million he was going to get from Minnesota. Dalvin, I would like $10 million too. I'm not getting it. I think both of us are just as likely to get $10 million this year. That's how far away he is from getting $10 million. He is coming off a career-low season. $10 million for a committee running back? Absolutely not. I also have bad news for Dalvin Cook. Did he look at the running back market in free agency this year? No one sniffed $10 million. Miles Sanders got a 4-year, $6.2 million contract per season. Not anywhere near $10 million on average. David Montgomery on average is getting $6 million. Jamal Williams led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last year. He's getting $4 million a season. So I don't know who told Dalvin Cook that he could be finding $10 million from some team, but there is no team in the middle of June when all the GMs have finished the draft, have finished free agency, and are enjoying a little bit of a summer cool-down period until training camp gets underway, is willing to break out the checkbook and sign a $10 million check for a running back who led the NFL in carries that resulted in 1 yard or less last season. Dalvin, I'm sorry. I know it's a tough business because running backs get called on so much and they are not compensated that well in free agency, and teams love to move on from them, but you're just not finding $10 million. And if you're looking for $10 million, you're not finding it in Denver, and I hope Denver does not give them $10 million. So time for you guys at home to put your GM hat on right now, and let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. Should the Broncos sign Dalvin Cook? If Denver believes they're going to have a committee backfield and Dalvin Cook wants to come on a 1-year, $5 million contract, sure, what the heck, why not? But if Denver believes that Javonte Williams is returning on the Sooner side, which definitely surprises me still to say out loud, and Dalvin Cook wants $10 million, yeah, I'm not paying $10 million for Dalvin Cook to be this team's RB2. Absolutely not. Now, if a move is made, you know we're going to have a video coming out to you guys as soon as possible. So make sure to subscribe for free Broncos coverage. And if you don't like it, here's the beauty. You can unsubscribe, and it's completely free. And it's not one of those gimmicky frees where you have to put a credit card in, and then a week later you get charged because you forgot to take your credit card out or you forgot to unsubscribe. No, it's free content all off season long. So lock in right now by hitting that sub button. Moving on to the next segment on today's show. The Denver Nuggets are NBA champs. They hoisted the Larry O'Brien Trophy after taking down the Miami Heat in 5 games. And I just kind of want to talk about where the Broncos are in the Denver sports pecking order, because there has been a good run at Mile High, right? You had the Avs hoist the Stanley Cup not long ago, just a season ago. The Nuggets this year, and if history repeats itself, it's going to be the Broncos or the Rockies. And I think we all know which of those two teams is closer to winning a championship. The Rockies, I hate to point out, are very far from winning a championship. They're at the bottom of the NL West. Nothing new, unfortunately. But this is your baseball moment here. How about the D-backs at the top? Did not see that coming going into the season at all. But regardless, you can kind of rule out the Rockies. And that leaves the Broncos and the Colorado Rapids. I have no idea if the Rapids are any good or not. I take pride in not watching the MLS, so we will kind of cross their name off the list, and poof. You have your 2023 Super Bowl champs, if history repeats itself, the Denver Broncos. And if there is one man for the job to do a very quick turnaround and get their team from worst to first, it would be Sean Payton, because he has been here before, okay? Look at the Saints in 2005 before Sean Payton took over. Jim Haslett was the head coach. Aaron Brooks was the quarterback. And they went 3-13 and averaged 2 touchdowns. The points per game jumps out to me. Denver averaged about 2 touchdowns last year. And after one offseason with Sean Payton as the head coach, he turned that Saints offense in 2006 to a 25 points per game machine. An 11-point bump. It might seem hard to picture right now after the fans having to count down the play clock for the offense last year, but Sean Payton, sure enough, has been in this spot before where he has turned things around very quickly. It certainly helped having a guy named Drew Brees, but Drew Brees, another short king, wasn't the best at the long ball, didn't have a cannon of an arm. Aaron Brooks had a cannon of an arm, by the way. Go back and watch like 2002 NFL Pro Bowl videos, like long arm challenge. He always won. But the point is, Sean Payton has this playbook. He knows how to turn around a team that had nothing going on offense and a quarterback that doesn't have a 6'5" frame or an absolute, howitzer for a right arm. He can still get the best out of him. We're going to find out if he can repeat history at Denver. So 8.5 wins is what I'm setting the win total right now for the Broncos at. You're taking the over, the under on that in year one for Sean Payton. Type O for over, U for under. This team won 5 games last year. 9 one-score losses. If he can get 5 of those 9 back, we're talking about a 9-8 team all of a sudden. I think 9 wins is very attainable for Denver. It's not out of reach by any means. You have Sean Payton, a top 5 head coach in the NFL. He can get this team to above 500 for the first time since 2016. So I'm going with the over. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Next up on the show, I want to discuss the recently waived James Robinson, former 1,000-yard running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is on the street. And if he is not looking for $10 million like another free agent running back out there, well, could the Broncos have some interest? More on this in just a moment. But the Pat Surtain jerseys, the sale is still going on, and you do not want to miss out because I don't know the next time we'll see a legit Nike NFL jersey selling for less than $100. So even if a tiny part of you is looking for a Pat Surtain or a new Broncos jersey, now is the time to buy it. So use the link, chatsports.com/Surtain jersey. It's in the comments and the description. If you don't want to spend that much on a jersey, no harm, no foul. They're definitely not super duper cheap. Now, what you could get your hands on is the Denver Nuggets championship gear. It is all waiting for you when you go to chatsports.com/Nuggets. That link's also in the comments and the description. Get a hat, get a t-shirt, get something. It's the first time ever the Denver Nuggets have championship gear. Do not be the only person at school or at your office or anywhere you go that's not wearing some form of Nuggets gear following this championship. Getting back to the James Robinson segment of the show, Jeff Howe, who works for The Athletic, tweeted out a little more context on the Patriots' release of James Robinson. Injuries were the issue, and the veteran running back couldn't stay on the field per source. How do you stay on the field for OTAs and minicamp? There's not much of a field to stay on. It's just non-padded practices. So if you can't really go through those drills at all, non-contact, really makes you nervous about what his longevity is like in the NFL. To me, this sounds like James Robinson's Achilles tear back in December of 2021. So a full season has gone by since his Achilles tear is still holding him back. Maybe he doesn't trust his leg completely. He doesn't have that burst. I'm not sure. I was not at Foxborough. I was not there for OTAs and minicamp. But if the Patriots are moving on this quickly, that kind of screams red flag to me, which is a bummer because James Robinson in his rookie season was a guy out of Illinois State that no one had heard of, and he put up 1,000 yards in only 14 games, 7 touchdowns to go along with it. Now, the following season, kind of took a step back a little bit, 767 yards and 8 touchdowns. And last year, before being traded, or including a trade to the Jets, he was held to a meager 425 yards and 3 touchdowns. So you can see the drop-off after his first year to his most recent season. If you can find that 2020 1,000-yard rusher, sure. Why would anyone be opposed to adding a player like that, at least to the committee, or at least to being an RB2 for a team? That sounds like a great player to have on your roster, a backup 1,000-yard rusher. But if the Patriots moved on from him from injury concerns, I am guessing word's going to get around the league really quickly that those days are behind James Robinson, and that's a big-time bummer. I mean, it kind of reminds me of David Wilson. Does anyone remember the Virginia Tech running back for the Giants? Unfortunately, a first-round pick had a neck injury, and just injuries really ended his career prematurely. And I hope that's not the case for James Robinson, but it's not trending in a good direction at this time. Now, as for other running backs, well, Denver still might have interest in that group. Mike Klis wrote, "Still, don't be surprised if the Broncos add one more running back between now and the start of the regular season, which kicks off September 10th against the division rival Las Vegas Raiders at Empower Field at Mile High." Now, there are some very notable free agent running backs still out there, and you can see their age next to their name. Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, those 4 guys have all been Pro Bowl, All-Pro even, I think, Zeke, and Super Bowl winning running backs. James Robinson, who we just talked about. J.D. McKissick is a really good change of pace back on 3rd down. How about Royce Freeman? Bring back Freeman, anyone? Kenyon Drake, Justin Jackson, Marlon Mack. So some pretty notable names still out there on the market. I'm guessing they're all hoping that teams will get desperate and blink first at the poker table and offer more than what previous running backs got in free agency. I don't like their chances at this, but if they have nothing to lose but time, and time's not an issue right now, why not wait till August? Because nothing's going on between now and September anyway. So who do you want the Broncos to sign? Is it one of those 10 players? Is it another running back? Curious who you have in mind. Let me know in the comments section below if you were the GM, who you would sign.